Alrighty, team. Today we've got the amazing Jeremy Harris with us. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're diving into all things 2025, as you can see behind me, and this is around strategic planning and what does our cash flow and what should our cash flow look like, and how should we prepare for that 2025. So thanks so much for joining today, man. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me, Lucas.
I love when we dive into the conversation around numbers because it's not my forte. This is your entire world, and thank God I've got amazing people behind me to focus on numbers. Let's start off. What are you seeing on the ground out there from an economic point of view and a business point of view before we dive into the cash flow conversation? Because I think what you're seeing on the ground 100% relates to why you think people should plan this way in 2025.
Yeah. Well, interesting you say that's not your area, looking at the numbers. And in Australia, there's so many entrepreneurs who are the visionaries and the people connectors, where actually numbers is not their thing. So part of what we love to do is just be explaining numbers to those entrepreneurs in a way that they understand, and to be there in the background, just keeping things on track. What we're seeing is real mix at the moment out there. There's we hear stats around record liquidations, and we've seen some of that directly ourselves amongst some businesses in our network. But at the same time, we're seeing businesses that are absolutely smashing it. And whether it's the particular industry they're in or even out-competing those in their industry. So they've just nailed the formula, they're focusing on the right things, and they're repeating. And often that's the case, is just keep it really simple and just do the same thing again and again. Our business coach has a saying, boring is profitable and profitable is fun. So sometimes it's just the case of don't keep on changing the formula, don't introduce new things. If it's working, then just find that repeating model
and just do it, and that's what makes money. I caught up with Chris Baskerville, insolvency practitioner that you're referring to, around this liquidation scenario a week or so ago, and like it was construction, hospitality, retail. They're the three hardest hit industries that's being majorly affected by this economic downturn. You said there's companies that are flourishing. Do you know, is there industries that you're seeing that are flourishing more than others right now?
Some services areas, actually. It's some service delivery, which is interesting because that is still a model of selling time for money. But for some, they've just got an offering that is really sought after and really adding value to their clients. So we've seen tremendous growth in that space in some of the businesses that we're working with. And of course, anything that is tech related around leverage. Well, not anything actually, because not all tech businesses do achieve that success. It is around just finding that market fit and the right model as well, and investing the right amount at the right time is part of the key in that area.
So once those tech businesses actually find the product and market fit, then they can go all in and have a repeatable model.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Yeah, cool. All right, let's dive into the dirt. Right. Let's talk about 2025. What should we be doing now? What are we in? 27th of November. What should we be doing now, between now and Christmas, to plan for next year? Because most people that I talk to are so busy, they run off their feet. They're just aiming for that Christmas line, and it's like, I can't wait to get to that line. I think I'm one of those. It's like everyone's run off their feet. Like, just get us to the end so then we can actually take time off. What should we be actually doing?
There's a pattern, I think, that shows up more and more each year that kind of starts at Melbourne Cup and it finishes Australia Day, or maybe even Valentine's Day in some cases, which is nearly 3 months when you think about it. But it's Melbourne Cup's kind of the trigger to start the party season, and the weather's getting warmer. It feels a bit more like holidays, and it can be a temptation to just take the foot off the pedal. And I think I'm seeing that more in recent years. Maybe it's still a lag effect of the tiredness and exhaustion from COVID. It starts to feel a little bit boring talking about COVID still, but I think there is still a lagging effect in lots of ways, especially around mental health and business fatigue. So it can be really tempting to just start that slowdown. Those who will stand out and will go into the new year much better prepared are those who just go hard right up to right up to the break, whatever that means. Some people won't really take a break necessarily throughout that Christmas period, but things do slow down. So for as long as you can keep on contacting people, whether it's having sales calls or at least setting up meetings to come back to in January, because then the biggest slowdown is to come back in the first or second week of January and then say, oh, okay, now what am I going to do? Now who am I going to meet? Who can I contact to arrange a meeting? It might still be then another week or two to start to get momentum. But keeping that momentum now will mean that there's momentum from day one, whatever your day one is, coming back after a break. So that's, I think, super important. And any sales that you make between now and taking a break is bonus as well. So it's not just about making meetings for January. It's just like keep on top of those opportunities. Because chances are a lot of people in your industry are not. So it's a really easy way to stand out.
Well, literally every single business owner I'm speaking to is like, all they're thinking about is Christmas. They're not thinking about 2025. I'm telling you that now. There might be some strategic conversation in the back of the mind somewhere in the leadership boardroom, but it's all like, we just want to like hammer through and just smash out as much as we can to get to that goal of Christmas. But then you're right. There's going to be opportunity for people who are thinking about Q1, Q2, 2025, and can we plan for that now and go, well, we're already running 10 million miles an hour to get to Christmas. Let's just add an extra 25% on top of that and go, well, what strategic meetings can we have? Strategic planning sessions, and then actually organizing those sessions in January, ready to go.
And reality is there'll be some prospects or some clients or customers who don't have time to meet with you between now and Christmas, but don't take two no's as representative of everyone. Just keep on looking at those opportunities, because there'll be some people who are actually just thinking about what do they need to do to get set up for the new year, and they're happy to start to have conversations at least now.
I've got many meetings booked out in December and heaps already booked out in January. So I totally understand that. And you're right. Just because the feeling is that everyone's got to say no, people just automatically assume they're going to say no. But that's just a subset of category of individuals that are in that particular focus, when the majority are like, no, let's go, let's make shit happen. Yeah, I love that.
Yep.
All right, let's dive into some details. All right, so December, you've heard it here, make sure you do this, is focus on sales. What else should we focus on in December? Was that just sales, just like go hard with sales?
Well, I think the reason a lot of people are busy is finishing off on delivery or fulfillment of products. So that's obviously really important as well. So I think it's not a period so much about strategic planning, which is better done with some fresh mental energy, I think, after a break. So it's really that combination of whatever has to be done for delivery wise, plus still having the sales hat on.
And then we've already planned ourselves for January, February, March, ready to go. All right, let's dive into profit margins. We're not thinking about this now. We're thinking about this in let's call it January 2025 and onwards. Why should we be focusing on profit margins? What should we do? What type of information should we be doing analysis on in our business to understand what these profit margins look like and what the outcome will be?
This reminds me of this topic. Reminds me of the phrase that we often use, and many people have heard: revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, cash flow is reality, or some people say cash flow is king. It's the size of our revenue, the size of our turnover. It doesn't necessarily dictate the outcomes that we're getting from the business, and ultimately, to be in business, what reward are we gaining from it? The personal satisfaction and also the financial reward is of course important. There are a lot of businesses that we see that are not making the profit that they should be making based on their revenue. And also a lot that we see where their profit is okay, but when we look under the hood, there are some of their products and services or some of their customers that are really profitable and a whole bunch that are not. And it does take that analysis of product by product or service by service and customer by customer as well, where you can actually see where are the ones that are dragging the overall result down,
Mhm.
and then make decisions around it, because information leads to clarity.
And most organizations already have zero, so the data's there. It's just digging into the data.
Yeah, that's right. In some cases, it may mean also a system behind that. Like if it's a time-based business, then what are they doing to track time on jobs? Or where it's products, what are the different costs that go into that product that then, and relate that to the price to see what the profit margin is by product. And then don't forget by customer as well. So that's all part of whatever is in the systems, and Xero is a great place to start. Then once you have that information, you can make decisions around it. And the decisions may be around, well, what are the opportunities to upgrade this customer? Or are they really one where we're putting a lot of time in and not making the profit margin that we need? So we need to give them an option to go somewhere else, for example. So,
but I think that conversation can become very emotional. Say we've been running our business for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and we've had customers the entire way through, because I've worked with companies that have clients from like day one. You might not be making a profit margin. You might not. It might be costing you a lot of time and effort, but they've been your customer for 20 years. That's a hard conversation to have, to say, well, by the way, you either need to increase your pricing or you need to say goodbye to that customer. This is why you get an external person in like yourself that just makes the hard details and hard facts, and there's no emotion in it.
Yeah. And I get that. Well, I've experienced the same thing. It is what I look at is that the time that I'm investing in that particular relationship, even though I might love working with that person and we may be producing great outcomes for them, but the time and the drag on our results takes me away from doing amazing things with other customers.
Yeah.
That's
a reality
really
check.
That's the rock to hold on to for me.
No, I love it. I'm already picturing in my mind on those customers that that you put a lot of time and effort into, and the results are there, but it's just 10 times more effort than other clients. Yeah, I totally get it. Right, eliminate, automate, and delegate. I love this topic. I can go into this topic in a million different ways, but I want to hear it from your perspective, from a cash flow, profitability perspective. Why should we as business owners be thinking about this, which is eliminate, automate, and delegate?
As I talk about this, I know it's a reminder for myself as well. It really applies to everybody in the team. It's what are the things that we're doing each day? What are the tasks and what are the roles that we have that are either unnecessary, and so that's the eliminate part. Maybe we're just doing them because we've always done them, or because someone said we have to, but maybe we don't. So there's opportunities to say, does that thing really add value to the business or to our customers? So eliminate. The second one is your area of expertise, automate. So there are so many opportunities to look at processes in the business and to make them far more efficient through just the way that information flows or who's involved in it, and through the use of technology. And technology, which in so many cases, as you've taught us, technology that's often already there in the business, in the suite of products that are available. So that is a super powerful one, is the automate, and then delegate. So if something can't be eliminated, so it's business critical, it can't be automated for whatever reason, somebody still has to be doing something, then who is the best person to do it? And probably business owners are the worst culprits for this.
We hold on to everything.
Doing more things than they need to be doing. And when it comes to delegate, then one of the things we're seeing a lot at the moment as well is real challenges around finding and retaining team. But just remembering that there is a global world full of amazingly talented people, and offshoring is such an opportunity. What really converted me on offshoring and outsourcing is when I heard a presenter say, this is not about taking away Australian jobs. This is so that everybody in my team in Australia can be doing the best for our clients and customers that they can, because they're not doing things that could be done by somebody overseas.
Or doing what they love doing. and removing all the stuff that I
Absolutely.
don't like doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, agree.
And I said before that so many entrepreneurs in Australia in particular are really high on vision and high on being connected to people. That means that there's a gap when it comes to things like holding on to the detail and customer service and some of those other strengths where other countries, that is their natural tendency, that's their natural strength. So we can tap into that as well.
I'm literally dealing with potential clients that will start working with us in January next year, where they've mapped out their process start to finish. And I go, what's the biggest bottleneck? And they always say me, the business owner. And they might have 20 staff, 30 staff, 40 staff. Like they've got resources there, but they go, I'm still doing everything. And you're like, why? Because it's what I've always done. That's a mindset change management conversation, right? But that relates to cash flow and profitability, because then if you delegate those tasks or automate them or completely remove them, then you can elevate yourself to a different level. Then you open up the mind to do more strategic partnerships, whatever that looks like, and then that opens up profitability.
That's right. It affects profit margins, because if we're not spending time doing things we don't have to because we eliminated them, or we've automated them so we're spending less time, or we've delegated them so people at the right pay grade are doing those tasks, then that improves our margin. But also it frees up our time to increase our revenue at a better margin.
Such a roll-on effect. So simple.
Yeah, that's right.
And so you said to me before, what's a really effective way of doing this? And this come January, if you haven't done this already, and I'm now need to redo this myself, is start documenting all the tasks that I'm doing. And do you have a process or a method that you go through that's really effective?
I did this myself recently again, and it's just, it can be a spreadsheet, it can be just a list on a piece of paper. It's probably the most recent reminder I had on this is reading Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. It's one of the first things that he talks about in that book. And it is literally a time audit. So for every half-hour block, just writing down, what was I doing? Was I reconciling in Xero? Was I having a meeting with a team member? Was I doing a sales call? So that I can actually see at the end of the week, where am I putting a lot of my time? And using color coding then makes it really easy to analyze that. And
January is a really good time for that, because we're not run off our feet. We have more time to think about it, and then we can be more strategic around, I guess, have time to even document this.
Yeah, and January may not be representative of a typical time when you get busier, but it's also a time when it's really tempting to go slow and tempting to be distracted. So in that way, it can be very revealing to do that time audit in January.
Yeah, love it. That's a great point. All right, last point to cover off, which is build a cash reserve. This is something that I've never heard any business owner talk about ever. It's always about cash flow. It's always about revenue. Mainly it's about revenue. Sometimes about profitability, never about building a cash reserve. What is that, and why should we be talking about that?
Some people call it a war chest. And we started this conversation talking about what's going on out there at the moment. I think there's uncertainty, there's some unpredictability in the markets generally. The opportunity is to just focus on building cash by improving those margins and by not going and spending it on things that are unnecessary, for two reasons. One is if there is some kind of downturn, or if you lose a key team member and you need to throw something at recruitment to replace them, then you've got the cash to be able to do that. The cash gives you the options, flexibility. Yeah. The other really important one is that if things do get really tough in a couple of years, there's going to be buying opportunities. There are going to be businesses that don't go as well as you do if you're really following the process of improving margins and building cash. So there are going to be businesses for sale, and that's an opportunity to add something to your business that is already really humming, to leverage in that way.
So my mindset originally in this conversation was about what we should do now to try and get the foundation of our company right. But that conversation changes to be more future thinking. So the company's now foundation of the company is now good, because we've just gone through all your checklist. Now we have an opportunity to do acquisitions. That's exciting. That wasn't in my mind when you first started talking about cash flow, right? So that's pretty cool. And I dare say that not many people would think this way.
Yeah, yeah. And there's really three key areas to think about always, I think. And again, I'll credit our business coach for really drilling this into us. The current business, the future business, that can include acquisitions, and it can also include what are the future products and services, and your personal wealth. They're really the three broad areas to be always looking at.
Yeah, love it, love it. Couple of key takeaways. I think that's probably my favorite takeaway, to be honest, is like build up cash reserve so that we have an opportunity for future opportunities. Boring is profitable. Our business coach has always talked about it, and I'm the worst for it because boring is boring. But once you have the profit and once you have the cash flow, it actually becomes fun. So I wish I learned this 10 years ago. Revenue is Vendy, profit is Hendy, and cash flow is reality, or cash flow is king. Yeah, this has been awesome. So now's the time to plan, refine, get the strategic, I guess, our process in order, ready to hit the ground running in 2025.
Yep.
Love it.
And still enjoy December, and best wishes for the holiday season.
Yeah, well, December 24th or whatever our last day is, I'm not sure what that is.
Yep.
For that 2-week period, relax.
Yes.
The whole country switches off, like seriously.
Yeah.
Australia's the worst for it. You speak to anyone else around the world, and we've got clients in a lot of different countries, they can't believe how much time Australia takes off.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned before, from the Melbourne Cup all the way through to Australia Day, like that's just insane.
Yes. Yeah.
No, this has been awesome.
Good.
I think there's a really good point. I think anyone listening, just get this checklist and just do it. You know, beat your competition. Everything that Jeremy just said, I think it just hit the nail on the head. I think it's awesome. This is a reality check for myself.
And me too.
And you too. Really appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Okay, pleasure.
Cheers.
Yeah.